is Arsalan. Welcome to Quality and Food Safety 101. Today we are going to talk about microbiological hazard. This is the fourth video in the series of basic food safety. The link is in the description for the full playlist. Have a look at the videos 1, 2 and 3 which are talking about introduction to food safety, hazards and contamination. And then let's start the fourth video of this series which will talk about microbiological hazard, covering all types of microbiological hazard, namely contamination of microorganisms, multiplication and survival. Microorganisms or microbes. These are microscopic organisms. These are living things which we cannot see through our naked eyes, and they are so small that only you can see them through microscope. They are present all around us, and in every environment they can survive. There are different microorganisms for different environments, and there are a lot of different types of microorganisms. Microorganisms can be of multiple types. There are some microorganisms which cause illnesses. They are called as pathogens. There are some microorganisms which cause spoilage of food. They are called as spoilage microorganisms. And there are many microorganisms which are essential to human life or life itself in general in the world. I just want to give you one example of essential bacteria or essential microorganisms. Imagine the microorganisms which result into the decay or decomposing of dead material. If these microorganisms will not work, then this world would be filled with dead bodies, and there will be no decay of dead bodies, and wherever you go you will see some dead material. This is the importance of microorganisms. One more example I can give you: nitrogen. So there is 72% nitrogen in the air, and nitrogen is essential for all living things because it's part of the DNA or the genetic material. But almost none of the living organisms, like for example animals or human beings, can utilize this air nitrogen. This air nitrogen is not useful for us. So how do we get this air nitrogen, or how do we get nitrogen in general in our body? It comes through nitrates or nitrites which is in the soil and then goes into the plants, and then we consume it. This conversion of air nitrogen to the soil nitrates or nitrites is through a bacteria or a group of bacteria which are called as nitrogen fixing bacteria. Think about it. The air nitrogen is damaged in a way which cannot be utilized, and these bacteria, this tiny creature, is fixing it and making it useful for all living things. So as I said, there are some microorganisms which are pathogenic, which are disease causing. There are some which cause wastage to spoilage, but a lot of them are essential and harmless as well for us. Some of the microorganisms which are related to food can be bacteria, viruses, fungus and protozoa. As I have discussed contamination in detail in previous videos, that entry or presence of anything unwanted is contamination, or anything objectionable in food is contamination. So with regards to microorganisms also, or microbes, the same definition applies. When an unwanted microorganism enters the food, or if it is already present in the food, that is contamination. Similar to the previous video where we discussed physical, chemical and allergenic contamination, let's talk about sources of microorganisms which can do contamination. Again, just to remind you, source is the starting point of a contamination cycle basically. So let's suppose you are in a place where there is no microorganisms, then the things which can bring the microorganisms into that place, or which can bring the microorganisms into the food area, they are the sources. So some of the sources of microorganisms are people, raw material, insects, rodents, soil and dust, and waste and pest or animals and birds. All of these things carry huge amount of microorganisms with them, and they can bring them into the food area. That's why they are called as sources. Once microorganisms enter into the food area, how do they spread? They spread through vehicles. These are the tools or things which we use in the food area, and they spread microorganisms along the way. For example, hands. Hands are the biggest tools which we have. So imagine a food handler touching raw food which is having a lot of bacteria, and after that forgets to wash hand and then touch any other surface or any other ready to eat food item, then this is a transfer of microorganisms or a spread of microorganisms through the hands. Same thing can happen with cloth, knives, cutting boards, and so forth. So these are all vehicles of transfer of microorganisms. Then the third thing to understand here is the roots. Roots are the path which microorganisms take to spread within the food area. For example, a cockroach enters the food area and walks over the surface of food preparation. That's one route of spreading microorganisms from the cockroach, which is a source, onto the surface, and then it can go into the food. Another route can be like a food handler goes to washroom and did not wash hands properly. Then from his dirty hands, bacteria can spread. This is another route. So there are multiple routes of spread of bacteria, but it starts with source, goes to a vehicle, and then spread to the food. A very specific type of contamination is called as cross-contamination. Cross-contamination is the transfer of microorganisms from raw food to ready-to-eat food or cooked food. Now, in general terms, a lot of people are using cross-contamination for everything. I have heard terminologies like chemical cross-contamination or physical cross-contamination. Actually, to be honest, people can use the word as they want, but cross-contamination traditionally has been designed for one specific purpose or to define one specific scenario, that microorganisms from raw food somehow end up into ready-to-eat food items. This can happen by three methods. Number one is the direct cross-contamination, when raw food and ready-to-eat food touch each other directly. As a result of that, raw food, which is a source of microorganisms or bacteria, will transfer the microbes into ready-to-eat food item, and this is direct cross-contamination. Second type can be indirect, through a surface. So as we discussed before also, a wrong cutting board is used to cut raw food, and on the same cutting board afterwards, cooked or ready-to-eat food was cut without cleaning or sanitation or changing the cutting board. This will end up into a different type of cross-contamination through indirect method. Then the third type of cross-contamination is drip cross-contamination, which is very common in chillers as well, that if by mistake somebody stores raw food on top of ready-to-eat food item, then the blood or the water from the raw food can drip down and do cross-contamination, and this is the third type of cross-contamination. So we have three types: direct, indirect, and drip cross-contamination. With regards to cross-contamination, I want to ask you a very interesting question. When you bring chicken, raw chicken, into your home, do you wash it or not? What is your answer? Put it in the comments. Pause the video here and put it in the comments, and let's discuss about it. I will tell you my perspective on the basis of science and logic, but let's see what you guys think of. So this is what happens when you wash chicken. Look at this picture clearly. When we are washing chicken, the bacteria from the chicken, which is a source of microorganisms, bacteria like Campylobacter or Salmonella, will spread on our work surface. After washing, the chicken itself goes into a cooking container or cooking pot or an oven and gets cooked to a very high temperature, and the bacteria on the chicken will die or inside the chicken will die. But the bacteria which we left behind on our work surfaces will be still there, and they will contaminate our other places and our food which are on those work surfaces. As a result, we are spreading contamination by ourselves. The chicken itself is getting, cooked properly, but the bacteria have already spread. That's the issue with washing the chicken. That is why all the scientific agencies and regulatory bodies advise to not wash chicken. The chicken which we are purchasing from a supermarket is already clean through extensive cleaning process in the chicken processing plant, and we do not need to wash it again. Thorough cooking will kill the bacteria and will avoid spread of contamination. So now let's come to the controls of contamination of microorganisms. With regards to the sources, these are the controls. For people, you have to do good hygiene practices, exclude the people who are ill, and do visitor policy. For raw foods, buy the raw food from reputable suppliers, check deliveries. For packaging material also, it has to be purchased from reputable supplier and proper deboxing has to happen. If a packaging is already dirty or contaminated, do not accept them, reject those things. So let's suppose there is packaging for eggs and it has feces of the chicken on it. In such instances, do not accept the food and reject the delivery, and the supplier has to handle that. Why we should invite extra contamination into our food area? With regards to the pest, integrated pest management and pest proofing should be done. For dust, we need to do proofing for dust also. So the windows and the doors need to remain closed all the time. The doors should be open only into a secure area which has proper buffer and proper covering. And we can also have even shoe washing areas at the entrances or use shoe covering. For waste, do proper waste management. All these are the control of sources. Then even after that, of course, there will be entry of microorganism in our food area. For that, we need to apply control on the roots so that the microorganisms don't spread within the food area. Some of these controls are here. Good design of the premises and equipment, good hygiene practices where people follow proper control with regards to hand washing, wear gloves, wear proper uniform. Protect the food by covering it, minimize handling. Segregation of high risk and ready to eat food items is very important as well. Color coding of the utensils like cutting boards and knives. Proper storage, raw food down, ready to eat food up. Always this is the code. Discard food if it is unfit for consumption, if it is contaminated and cannot be done anything with it, no corrective action can be done. Discard such food items. Proper cleaning and proper waste management. All these are the controls of the roots. Through this, we stop the microbiological contamination. So please remember, there are significant things which we have discussed here. The sources of microorganisms, vehicles and the roots, all three things are very different and they need to be controlled individually, and there has to be proper control measures for each of them. Similarly, cross-contamination is one of the major types of hazard, and there has to be proper controls. For that, there are three types of it which we have discussed as well. Hi, so I interject this video as this topic has become very long. Microbiological contamination hazard, multiplication and survival is the topic of this video, but the part of contamination, as you can see, is quite extensive. So we will stop here, and in the next video we will continue multiplication and survival hazards. See you in the next one. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you.